Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, so definitely check me out there. And also, it saves you 10% off of activelyblack.com. Activelyblack.com. Their greatness is in their DNA. They have all the activewear you could possibly want. They have collaborations with Muhammad Ali's family, and they also have something with Allen Iverson as well. So yeah, they have collaborations there. The gear is comfortable, it's nice, it's perfect. As the seasons change, you want to go from the sweat, the tees to the hoodies. They have that as well. So for men and women, so definitely check that out, activelyblack.com. So some breaking news real quick. ACC has added some teams. The teams they added are SMU, which makes sense, Dallas area, Stanford, and Cal. So the Bay Area is going to be representing in the ACC. They'll probably figure out all the logistics. Is that enough to keep Clemson? You know, is that enough to keep some of these teams? To keep Florida State? Is it enough to keep some of these squads? The bigger squads, maybe it's enough, maybe it's not. We'll have to see. If it is, it's a big moment for these teams, because they got to find out. They really got to find out, where they're going to play. And I know that they don't want to destroy their athletic programs, but it's either blank or get off the pot if right now in college football. And you got to get in where you can fit in, and all those things like that. They have to be able to find a room in one of these bigger conferences, because the Pac-12 is no longer, after this year. They did a horrible job of the Pac of really doing what they had to do with the Pac-12. It was kind of embarrassing. They had the money from ESPN. They refused the money from ESPN. It was not, it was pretty much Pac-12 was run in a way where it was like, hey, this is how not to run a conference, and we're going to give you a master class on how not to run a conference. And that's why that conference is gone and no longer will be around after this year. Watch the game back now, the USC game against Notre Dame. I'm sorry, not Notre Dame. San Diego State a couple of times now. And I think, I think the crux of the issue for a lot of people is, and then you can hear it in the crowd, because I was in the crowd watching the game, and with in regards to Alex Grinch and the defense. And I think the biggest issue that people have with Alex Grinch and the defense is he's not cutthroat enough. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, let's talk about like college and pros. So college, pro football is all about just winning. It's just about winning, right? It's you win. It doesn't matter if you win by 1 or you win by 55. It doesn't matter. You want to win. In college football, and that's pro football, in college football, you have to kind of win with style. It matters how you look when you win. It matters. So I get what they wanted to do with all the changes and everything like that, but I think almost every player on USC's roster basically played in this game, because they're rotating bodies in and out. They want to see, quote unquote, get people on film. I understand. They're coaches. They want to do that, kind of treat it like a glorified scrimmage. But can you do that in the second half? Can you do that in the second half? Can you do that later in the game? Can you try to just go really hard with the Eric Gentry's of the world, the Bear Alexanders of the world, all those players like that in the first half? So this game is not 21-24 at the half. That just didn't sit right with anybody. That didn't sit right with anybody in those stands who were wearing the cardinal and gold, the cardinal and gold, for USC, and it just didn't feel good to sit there and have that game be 21-24. So sorry, 21-14 at the half. Not to be even up by 2 scores. That's the problem with this. Like you got to show some dominance. You can't keep, trying to be a scientist with it. Sometimes you just have to, you got to be as cutthroat as humanly possible. You want to try some different defensive plays, defensive looks, or whatever in this game with San Jose State. You do it in the second half when you're up by 4 scores. I mean, this game really wasn't broken open. The game really wasn't broken open until Zachariah Branch like destroyed it. It wasn't until that moment. So to me, like that's the biggest issue I have with him is just like you're a defensive coordinator. You want to cut people's. You want to like this whole like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, doing that. No, cut. You got to cut the head off. Yeah, San Jose has a quarterback who might be a backup in the NFL, but he's at San Jose State for a reason. Not to knock him or not to knock that program, but he's there for a reason. He's not at Alabama. He's not at Georgia. He's not at Tennessee. He's not at Utah. He's where he is for a reason. So you find out what he does not like, and you force him into those things. You make him play left-handed. I'm not the biggest Belichick guy in the world, but he talks about that all the time. Like at least in the first half, like if you're a big running team, then you know what? I'm gonna make you pass. You have to take things away. And that's the kind of like the defensive side of it that I don't see from Alex Grinch. That kind of bothers you. And then you also have the thing where coaches continue there's some coaches who always have people have blown assignments, but then there's other coaches who don't have a lot of blown assignments. Like it doesn't. I mean, it's just like they just have in this defense. You have blown assignments almost all the time. Yeah. If Eric Gentry has shown that he is so important to this team. When you look at the PFF numbers, when you look at Eric Gentry, and when he was on the field, it was like 3-and-out, 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 3-and-out. Well, let's get as many 3-and-outs as humanly possible, and then play the young people. All right, and then do that. I get it. There are kids in the crowd who are recruits, who are freshmen who want to see you play freshmen because they're gonna say, why am I gonna come to USC if they don't play freshmen? So I get it. You can play some of them, but let's get that game like 21-14 at the half just doesn't sit right. It don't sit right when your X's are a lot bigger than their O's. If you know what I mean. They play upcoming now. They play Nevada. Nevada's coming up here, and Nevada is not a really good football team. I kind of did some research on Nevada, and I was looking at like where like people who cover that conference are picking Nevada in the Mountain West, and they're picking them 10th in the Mountain West. 10th in the Mountain West. And you're a team that has an opportunity to win a national championship. So I know you want to mix everybody in. I know you want to do all these different things. And I totally understand what the goal is. They want to be better later in the season, opposed to right now. But like, it's time to show dominance. Like it really is. You're playing these bad opponents. I don't want to see Nevada get anywhere near 20 points. I don't care if you score 70 and you playing all the backups in the second. You cannot have a situation where they are going into these games and you're going into these games against these lesser opponents and the game is close at half. You gotta find a way to get that kill shot going. They obviously are not going to stop Caleb Williams. As bad as great as Utah was against USC last year, they couldn't stop Caleb Williams. It's pretty much an injury, and then by bad time management, a holding penalty by Brendan Rice, stuff like that. That's what held USC back from beating Utah. And I give Utah credit. They beat Florida last night. Great job by Utah, but without that starting quarterback, Utah is a pesky team. They're going to be very difficult to beat. They do a lot of the little things that we kind of harp on USC for not doing, I should say. Good in the kicking game. They got turnovers, got pass rush. They blitzed like crazy in that game when the chips were down for Florida. Utah went out there and blitzed the hell out of them and made that quarterback turn the ball over. I mean, that those are kind of things you got to do. Like you got to be able to games, end games early. You're not playing a quality opponent. End games early. And I think that's what this defensive unit needs to start doing. If I'm because like I think one thing that's definitely clear too when you watch these college football games because of the clock situation, it's a little different now, right? You don't have the stopping after a first out all the time. The 4.5 hour games are not there anymore. That could lead to less possessions. You play a good opponent, they run the football, they just keep things going in their in their direction. And sometimes Utah in that game last night just ended up just getting first downs just to kind of steal possessions away. You're gonna see people try to steal possessions away from SC when they start playing better opponents. Let that clock run. Caleb can't score a touchdown if he's on the bench. Can't be afraid to be dominant. And I think it's just not a thing for him to be dominant. And that is the one of the things that just bother me. And it doesn't sit well with you. It doesn't sit well with me. And when you have the better players, like I understand Barry Alexander maybe Barry Alexander and Keon Barnes are on the pitch count as far as the snap goes. You want to see some other pieces, but put them on a count enough where you don't have to sit here and watch the team go watch San Jose State go up and down the field because as soon as the stars went out, they went up and down the field, and you can't do that. Can't do that at all. Can't do that at all. As far as that goes for USC. So USC plays Nevada. The Wolfpack come to the Coliseum. Go ahead, folks, and go ahead and pack the collie for that one. I think that I'm probably going to end up trying to go to the probably out there for the Stanford game. This is going to be a moment here where again, like you want to see some dominance. Like they're going to play a kind of a real football team in Stanford. So in the following week, Stanford is not. They're a division rival. They're not really a rival as far as beating USC. They're not very good, but when you're playing this lesser opponent here, like let's get the defense popping. Like our turnovers, sacks, like those are the kind of things that you want to see this week, and you want to just see them kind of lay the wood and just be dominant. Like I know 56-28. I know that it looks like dominance, and they dominate that game. You never had a fear that the Spartans were going to win that game, but nah, they can do better. They can do much better as far as that goes, and hopefully they can do that against Nevada. Student Body Right USC podcast. Just kind of give you like a little what I've seen from USC in that game against San Jose State after watching the game a couple of times, and then now they face Nevada this week. Should be the same kind of dominant. Should be a dominant. Let's get that dominance early in the ball game. If they score 20 and it's like all backups, then okay, maybe, but like I want to just see. Let's just get everything going. So halftime is 21-24, nothing or three, or let's just can I see a field goal? Can I see a field goal unit come on the field instead of seeing them in the red zone all the time? Like, come on. I think one thing is clear though. When you watch this game on film, and I watched it on film, and you feel free to watch my top 5 plays on all 22 from the offense this week. But it's clear that for whatever reason, that Eric Gentry is really probably the most important defensive player on this team, watching this team play. When he plays and he's on the floor, he's on the field, the other team doesn't move the football. He's a very integral, and he just really clogs up that middle. He's so long. He's so incredibly gifted athletically. Like he is really a tough. He's tough. He takes away the middle of the field and forces you to throw to the boundaries, which is huge. Which is huge. Which is huge. A huge part of football. If you can take away the middle of the field as far as the passing game goes. So, Student Body Right USC podcast. Eric Gentry. We know how important he is, and then also we know how important it is for them to just keep this defense. This defense has to be on a better trajectory going into the real part of the schedule. Because before you know it, it'll be that time. It'll be that real time of the schedule. All right, deuces, y'all. Fight on.
Had a good punt return earlier. Terrence Shive is kicking off here into the field. Oh, and Branch. That's a great job. What a great job by Zachariah Branch. Freshman to